All right, in this lesson, we're going to talk about a specialized topic when it comes to inventory, and that is transportation cost. And we're going to talk about this because it's not booked how you think it's booked, especially as we haven't talked about inventory until this section. So as we go through this, we're actually going to show you how we book transportation costs when it affects or it's because of inventory and inventory being shipped to us. So when you purchase an item from the store and someone asks you, how much did it cost you? Do you include the entire cost or just the retail price? And most people will say, well, I'm going to include the entire cost. And when we mean the entire cost, usually you'll have to pay sales tax. So do you say that your computer cost you $899 or did it cost you $1,020 because you had to pay sales tax and some fees, right? So you'll say, oh, about $1,000 because that's what actually went out of your pocket. Well, the same thing kind of works for transportation. So transportation costs are included in the cost of inventory when they are incurred by the retailer or the merchandiser. Now, costs related to shipment to a customer are not included in inventory costs. Instead, they are considered sales costs. So let's break this down a little bit. Cost to get your inventory from your vendor site to your site and you paid it gets included in inventory. Now, if the seller paid for it, so your vendor paid for it, it's already baked into the cost. So whatever bill they give you, it's already on there, okay? But if you have to pay for transportation costs or any transportation costs associated with taking it from your vendor site to your doorstep, that is included in the cost of inventory because that's what it would cost to get your inventory to you so that you're able to even sell it to your customers. Now, once the inventory is in your possession at your store, at your facility, then the cost incurred to transport it from your facility to your customer's home or your customer's site is not included in the cost of inventory. Instead, it's a sales cost. It's the cost of doing business. It's the cost of selling that good to your customer. So the way that I like to think about it is for Amazon.com, they might buy inventory from China, for instance. So they might pay $1,000 to have it shipped from China to the United States. That $1,000 gets baked into the cost of the inventory. So if the inventory was $1, for instance, and there was 1,000 units, then we would take that $1,000 of shipping costs divided by 1,000 units and add it to each unit. So now each unit costs $2. $1 for the cost of the item plus another $1 to transport it from China to here. So that would be what we would do for that cost. Now, when Amazon ships it to their customers, that's not a cost of the inventory. That's just a cost of selling goods to their customers, and therefore we book it as a transportation expense rather than an inventory cost expense. So knowing that there is a difference here, everything up until they sell it, it goes into the cost of the inventory, and then anything after would be cost of sale. Now, all costs related to inventory to get it to its location for its intended use are included in inventory. So we are talking about transportation in this lesson, but it would be any other costs associated with getting it to you. So if you have to pay customs fees, maybe you need to have it tested, maybe you need to have someone review it, those costs would be added to inventory. So this is a blanket statement of how it should be, but specifically in this lesson, we're just talking about transportation costs. Now, what better way to learn this than to do an example? So, Company A paid in cash Van Lines Inc. $8,000 to transport their inventory from their vendor site to their warehouse, prepared the journal entry for the transportation of the inventory. So, Company A has inventory at the vendor site. They're going to pay Van Lines $8,000 to transport it from the vendor site to their company's site. So, normally, if this wasn't an inventory item, we would do this journal entry. So we would debit transportation expense for $8,000. and then we would credit cash for $8,000. That's what we would normally do, but this has to do with inventory. So that's not what we're going to do. Because we incurred the $8,000 to transport our inventory, instead of this entry, we are going to debit inventory and credit cash. So we're going to debit inventory because we want to book that $8,000 to inventory because it was because of inventory, and we'll credit cash for $8,000. Now, it's beyond the scope of this class or this course right now that we show you how this then gets allocated to all the units, and then from there, how do we expense it? Just know that it goes into inventory, and then it's dealt with the cost of the actual item, and then we would figure out how much to transfer to cost of goods sold when we sell it. So it's beyond this section here, so don't worry about it. Just know that if we pay transportation expense, we would debit inventory instead of transportation expense if it's associated with inventory rather than just, I don't know, we paid transportation expense to send it to our customers, or we paid transportation expense to get supplies to us. That's a different story. We would bake it into supplies, but we would normally just debit transportation expense. So that's how we would tackle transportation costs associated with inventory that we purchased. So hope you enjoyed this lesson, and we'll see you in the next video. Hey guys, if you like this video, make sure you press the like button below. And if you're looking for worksheets that go along with all of these lessons, head over to my website at patrickleemsa.com or clicking the link in the far right. And I've got your next lesson right over here. So just click that link and it'll take you to that video. So until then, we'll see you in the next lesson.